well, we're out of money. I'm sorry, but I can't bail you out. Dr. King said that was fine. He wanted to be there with his people anyway. And while he was there, he decided to respond to that letter from the clergy. That response has since come to be known as the letter from Birmingham jail. I encourage all of you to Google that letter and to read it in its entirety. But he said in part in his response, we've learned through painful experience that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. For many years now, I have heard the word wait. It rings in the ear of every Negro with piercing familiarity. This wait has almost always meant never. Perhaps it is easy for those who have never felt the stinging darts of segregation to say wait. But when you have seen vicious mobs lynch your mothers and fathers at will or drown your brothers and sisters at whim, when you have seen hate-filled policemen curse, kick, brutalize, and even kill your black brothers with impunity, when you see the vast majority of your 20 million black brothers smothering in an airtight cage of poverty in the midst of an affluent society, when you are humiliated day in and day out by signs that read white and colored, when you take a cross-country drive and find you must sleep in the uncomfortable corners of your automobile night after night because no motel will accept you, when you are haunted by day and harried by night by the fact that you are a Negro, living constantly at tiptoe stands, never quite knowing what to expect next, plagued by inner fears and outward resentments, when you are forever fighting a degenerating sense of nobodiness, then you will understand why we find it difficult to wait. There comes a time when the cup of endurance runs over and men are no longer willing to be plunged into the abyss of despair. I hope, dear sirs, you can understand our legitimate and unavoidable impatience. Remaining in jail for another 4 or 5 days, Dr. King was negotiating with city leaders. An agreement was reached. Blacks would be allowed to use the public parks, the public pools, the public libraries, would be hired in significant numbers in meaningful jobs in the stores and businesses and industry around town, would be allowed to sit down and eat in public restaurants. All charges against those arrested during the sit-ins and boycotts would be dropped. While this agreement was reached in Birmingham, similar agreements were reached in a number of other cities throughout the South that same summer. While Dr. King believed that these agreements were fine, he thought that there should be a law which would cover all people in all cities. He thought that more pressure should be brought to bear on the U.S. Congress. So Dr. King and the SCLC joined hands with the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP, for a march on Washington. That march took place later on that same summer, on August 28th, 1963. That is when Dr. King gave his now famous I Have a Dream speech. A speech that almost didn't take place. You see, the night before the march, someone sabotaged the sound system. The U.S. Park Service, who was responsible for installation and maintenance of the system, told Dr. King that it would take 3 days to repair. The march was scheduled for the following morning. After many frantic telephone calls, Dr. King called then U.S. Attorney Bobby Kennedy, who enlisted the help of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, who got out there that night and repaired the sound system. The speech itself wasn't written until the night before. Now, I know U.S. students, especially here at Springfield College, have never waited until the last moment to finish a paper or a report. But you see, Dr. King was dealing with the logistics of that huge march, issues surrounding security, sanitation, the sound system, also dealing with the numerous distinguished invited guests. It wasn't until around midnight that he got back to his hotel room there at the Willard Hotel, working with 2 of his closest advisors, did they finish writing that speech. And now I want to give you just a portion of the speech he gave that day while standing on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, overlooking a crowd that numbered more than 250,000 people. And for the first time, a black man carried live on national television. Dr. King said, and so we've come here today to dramatize this shameful condition. In a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vault of opportunity of this nation. And so we've come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice. And so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves, the sons of former slave owners, will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with this vicious racist, with this governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and little black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and little white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places shall be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope, and this is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discord of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, "My country, 'tis of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. If America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the hiking Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the Cretaceous slopes of